What's up, guys? My name is Mad Squash 924. Welcome back to another episode of Night Call Part 8. It's time I think we go and pick up some fuel for our car before we go and pick up more customers. I went and looked around and didn't see any suspects when we spawned in, so let's do that. Since we have a quarter of a tank. You pull over and stop at a gas station. Not a soul in sight. The fluorescent lights irritate your eyes, and the smell of pee is wafting up from the space in between the pumps. It's self-service here. You pay directly at the pump. The mini-mart over there must sell newspapers. The person behind the counter must see and hear things. Might be worth asking some questions. You sigh and get out of your taxi. The cold grips you hard. Well, let's pay for our fuel. Okay. We don't really have time today to go stop with them and, deal with that, so let's just leave. You get into your taxi and drive away. Because if you go and ask them questions, it takes up some of our valuable time for our stuff. Let's see, who do we have for suspects now? Well, I shouldn't say suspects, customers. There is this guy again. We probably should pick him up. If I remember right, if I go into past the decks, he actually has a lot of locked content. So it might be worth going to him. You slow down a bit. You've just been hit with a migraine. You crack your window. Icy Parisian air fills the cab. You need to rest. You need coffee. You need to close your eyes. Just a minute. One tiny minute. You don't need to sleep. Whoa, it's us! You raise your head, and you see yourself sitting in the back seat. Your gut clenches. No, it's more like someone is pulling your guts out. Yeah, I look like shit. I know. No surprise considering all the crap I eat, right? He smirks, or maybe it's just a smile. You can't quite tell. I've just got one thing to say. It won't take too long. You'll be able to get back to defending the weak and the poor right after. And maybe cleaning up your reputation. And that pretty face of yours. I wonder why I'm not in the driver's seat. You hear a knuckle crack, but neither of you budged. Frankly, it would be easier for everyone. Another knuckle crack. You know, if I were behind the wheel and you were, well, in the back seat of my mind, of my conscience, a whole handful of knuckles crack. Your shoulders quake. But no, that's not how this works. What do you want? Me? Nothing. You want to get out of the awful deal you made with that bitch of a lady cop. He makes a whistling with his teeth. You remember the night when the judge... He rolls his eyes. Ah, what a stupid name. You remember the night I'm talking about? You nod slowly. Say it. Say you remember. It's important. I remember. When the killer attacked you, you saw his hand. He was wearing gloves. Yes, he was wearing gloves. Rubber gloves with talcum powder on them. I know what you told that bitch. I was there. You remember? I said he was wearing gloves. I'm not talking about his gloves, I'm talking about his hand. His hand. The rubber was torn, and you saw something. He stares at you. Damn it, out with it, remember. It's not hard. His voice sounds compressed, compacted, smushed. The last syllable rings in your ears like a scream. You remember the gloved hand, the hall lights shining, wrinkles on his skin. You jump as a car flies by right next to the taxi and honks. You've fallen asleep. After sitting still for a second, you start the car. But the image of that wrinkled hand haunts you. Jeez. I hope we're still going to pick up the same individual. Nope, he disappeared. Shit. Let's go pick up somebody close. It's a shelter for homeless people. When it gets too cold out, you bring Hervé here. Kiara Yaman. Yaman? The passenger who sinks into the back seat is one of the hordes of cyclists you almost always hit at red lights. She's a bike courier, the kind who pays no attention to red lights, stop signs, or right-of-ways. She gives you a smile. Holy shit, it's flippin' freezing out. You smile. Do we know each other from somewhere? I don't think so. I probably just cut you off on my bike or something. Or maybe it was me. Maybe I changed lanes without signaling. You both burst out laughing. She gives you an address. It's for a delivery, but it's too cold. I can't seem to get warm. You start the cab and turn the heat to high. Warm air fills the car. The young woman nods. Thanks, that's exactly what I'm here for. She closes her eyes, as if to enjoy the muffled hum of the heater. I hope you don't mind. There was no way I was going to get back on my bike. I left it behind with my colleagues in front of that restaurant. She sighs. I know it's pretty counterproductive, paying for a cab ride to deliver food, but I just... all the warm air, it feels good. So, how's work going? The young woman is struggling to stay awake. It's pretty good, though I had a run-in with one of my colleagues tonight. He's, She falters. He's a real know-it-all, the kind of guy who thinks he's been there and done that. The work itself is pretty good, though. In the winter, we do a lot of business. People stay holed up at home like rabbits. I have to say, I understand them. She yawns. I'm warming up. But I sure am tired all of a sudden. She closes her eyes. Sorry, we're already here. You pull up to the address. Right. Back to work. The delivery girl quickly exits the cab, slamming the door behind her. She rings the door of an elegant Parisian building. A moment later, the door cracks open. The courier hands her client a plastic bag with takeout containers inside. She smiles. The door shuts. She rushes over to the cab and flings herself into the back seat. Come on, let's get out of here fast. You start the cab. Back to the restaurant, please. I left my bike there. Well, that's that. Her phone chirps. Business is picking up. She sighs. But yeah, I think I'm going to wait a little. Check it later. She settles comfortably into the back seat and closes her eyes. Have you been doing this for a long time? It's been, well, this is my second winter, so yeah, a year and a half or so. Time really flies. I have to say, it's pretty boring after a while. She flashes you a toothy grin. At first you're like, yeah, what's the best shortcut? How can I get to that restaurant as fast as possible? But after a while, you know, always the same old routine. There is a pause. She gives a short laugh. Nah, I shouldn't complain, really. At least I can take it easy on my bike. There's no one to really mess around with me. She lets out a silvery laugh. It's very soothing in tone. The laugh of someone you can trust. What did you do before? Marketing. A startup company, one of those super pretentious places where everyone speaks 3 languages and only eats whole grain. And my boss was a total asshole, who was always grabbing my ass. A look of revulsion flickers across her face. So now I'm done with all that. She looks serious, as if she had just concluded a long speech. So that, my friend, is why I wouldn't trade in my bike for all the world. Is the money good? The company pays peanuts. But the real tightwads are the clients. You deliver their dinner because they're worn out after working all day. And they don't even tip you a single euro. Still, they are understanding and all that. They give me articles about all the big bad delivery businesses abusing us. And then they order sushi from the restaurant down the street. Never trust a stomach. She makes a little farting sound with her mouth. Believe me, a bunch of cheapskates. She stops you with a gesture before you can speak. But all that is just for the time being. Promise. And putting a little aside, like my father always said, I'm going to open a takoyaki food truck. Have you ever had takoyaki? You pull up to the restaurant. A swarm of bikes couriers are waiting for their orders. Yeah. Oh, cool. I want it to be the latest thing. It's basically a pretty simple idea. You sell them to people lined up for concerts, movies, plays. She smiles. Anyhow, I'm out of here. There's a lot of starving people in Paris, and we don't want to let them down. She hands you the fare and exits the cab. Thanks again, really. You're good company. If you ever need a shortcut, just ask. She gives you a last smile, then walks over to her crew. Business is booming. What we got for customers? Anybody potentially a suspect? It looks like no. Let's get this old lady. I think it's an old lady. You take a look at your taxi. You better remember to clean it up at the end of your shift. This lady's name is Myrtle Thavanov. You pull over to the side of the road and wait for your passenger. A regular you haven't seen for a while. Myrtle. She appears from a side street toting an enormous shopping bag and climbs into the cab. Well, hello there. I wasn't sure you received my message. Her voice is cracked and raspy like a broken phonograph. You know all about her sad life story, about her failed romances, her scratch card addiction, and her 2 incarcerations to date. You were lucky. You've been given a helping hand. She hadn't. Are you going to get going or what? Sorry, I'm a little distracted. Where to? To the shelter in Montreal. Thanks. You turn the key in the ignition. The motor hums. Damn, it feels good to be warm. And speaking of being warm, things are kind of tough right now, money-wise, if you know what I mean. Myrtle, you know what's always free for you. She raises a hand and puffs out her chest. No way. Forget it. I'm a passenger just like any other. Her hoarse, raspy voice is like sandpaper over stone. Let's make a deal instead, okay? An agreement, that is. I'm listening. I'll tell you a riddle, and if you find the solution, I'll pay the fare. Sound good? You nod yes. Fine. Are you listening? Ready? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. When you have me, you want to share me. But if you do share me, you don't have me. She breaks off. That's it? Of course that's it. Were you expecting a novel or something? She repeats the riddle, her voice tinged with fatigue. When you have me, you want to share me. But if you do share me, I don't exist. Well? Well, something that is destroyed or that dies when it's shared. A good meal. A lie. A lie. Yeah. That could be it. Or maybe... You muttered to yourself, a while longer. Freedom? Your passenger leans in a little closer. She's hoping to hear what you are saying. It's a good riddle, Myrtle. You like it? I do. A lot. Well then, what's your answer? I only exist if I'm not shared. What am I? A smile, a secret, a lie, a sleep. It's a secret. Your passengers eyes you intently. And then aren't you a smart one? I note that disappointment has crept into her voice. Yeah, a secret. If you share it, it's no longer a secret, so there you go. She shakes her head sadly. I sure as hell found that one out the hard way, handsome. All those damn whores, a bunch of bitches who pretended to be in shock when they heard I lost everything. My boyfriend, the roof of my head, my entire life. So, what do they go and do next, huh? Fuck, they battle all over town. Told everything to everyone. No secret there, that's for sure. So I couldn't get a job anymore, and I lost every damn thing I had. Her voice breaks off. She looks out the window, still visibly angry. When she takes up her story a few minutes later, her voice is shaky. That's all in the past now. I forgave those stupid bitches. That's what I learned out on the streets. Forgiveness. A few minutes later, you get to the shelter where Myrtle is going to spend the night. So anyhow, since you guessed my riddle... She starts rifling through her bag, very slowly, trying to find the money for the fare. You can tell she's hoping you won't hold her to it. I mean, we need the cash, but never mind, Myrtle. Forget about it. Aw, you are a sweetheart. I'll make it up to you, promise. You wonder how she'll make it up to you. Anyhow, I'm off. See you soon, handsome. She gives you a wink and exits the cab, her shopping bag dragging behind her. She picks her way through a handful of homeless people waiting in front of the shelter. It will be opening soon. You pull out. It's back to your rounds. Making no money. Yay. We need money. We need money right now. Any suspects? Nope. Let's pick her up. I somehow gotta find another old lady voice. Her name is Alph. Okay. Driver, sir. I'm gonna try to be more posh. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. The passenger who entered the cab makes you feel immediately uncomfortable. Or is this a guy? Well, his name is Alph. Or her name's Alph. Hard to say why exactly. Perhaps the smooth plastic set of his features. His features, got it. Or his odd appearance. A mad assortment of mismatched clothes. Good evening. Good day. His shrill annotations are offensive to your ear. Tell me, good fellow, you drive? And driver, what would you be so kind as to take me to Rue Perracon, number 96? As he speaks, you can almost hear the deeper accents of what seems like a second voice. Sure. You nod slowly and start the car, casting an anxious look in the rearview mirror every so often. Sorry to bother you and disturb you, but I was wondering if you would be willing to answer a few short questions and queries. Why not? Thanks for opening up to me, and for being an open-minded one as well. Good day and good evening. Do you think that building roller coasters is a normal thing to do? The question sends you for a loop. It wasn't at all what you were expecting. What? Apologies, sorry. Perhaps my query and questions aren't clear. Let me try again. No, it's fine. I understood the question. It's just that... Why do you ask? My question mustn't bother and disturb you, otherwise it won't work. Let's say we try another question. If that's agreeable to you, of course. What's with this guy? Who is he? Good day and good evening. Why have you yet to colonize the satellite you call the moon? He pauses momentarily. And you try to connect the dots. Not you personally, of course, but you as a species. And who are you? I'm just like you, no more or no less. A human being. He stops, weighing his words carefully before going on. I cried and wept just like you did when Ross and Rachel got married. Are you convinced that I am one of yours now? No, absolutely not. Who the hell are you? Your customer leans in closer. You get a whiff of a strange scent. It's like a mix of turpentine and peas. Let's just forget it, okay? You nod in agreement. You definitely want to forget it. But one last question inquiry first, and then I'll leave you alone. One last question is fine by you. Good day and good evening. Why is your own individual freedom more important to you than that of your species and community as a whole? You examine your passenger closely. You are reluctant to speak. It's as if he were speaking through you. As if you were hypnotized. Frankly, it's because we're selfish. We always put our own interests first. We're made that way. A pause as your passenger rights his posture with a movement of his shoulders. Ah, you are surprisingly honest and frank. I know the people who live in this city. I could count the number of people willing to make a sacrifice for another person's well-being on a single hand. Suddenly, you are unable to speak, as if the words were trapped inside your throat. Your passenger on the seat behind you gives you a dry smile, as if he knew exactly what was going on. Thanks. He stops short. He doesn't actually pronounce your name, but you seem to hear what he's thinking. Sorry, I forgot. You didn't want that information and knowledge to get out. You absently pull up to the address he had given you. Your passenger hands you the fare, and then some. Meeting you and making your acquaintance was a memorable experience. Adieu. He exits the cab. You are still paralyzed, but you don't panic. Your body seems to know what's best. You can sense your muscles relax. A minute later, you let go of the steering wheel. The paralysis has ended. You take a look out the side door window. A quiet Parisian neighborhood, utterly uneventful. Not as swanky as the rest of the 16th arrondissement. Your customer has vanished into thin air. You sit there a moment longer before making up your mind to leave. The sooner you pick up a new passenger, the sooner you'll forget that guy. Thank you. We need the cash, so that works out. Oh boy, did he waste our day. He wasted it so much. But with that, this is a good spot for us to end today's episode of Night Call. Hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys have, make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think of today's episode, of course. And if you're new to my channel or have been watching me for a little while and you haven't done so, feel free to subscribe to me, MadSquash924, and don't forget to ring the bell to get notified of my latest videos. On the next episode, it looks like we can pick up one more customer before we actually have to head home for the night. And then, maybe we'll go and do one of these. Maybe. We'll see what happens. But I'll see you then. Bye-bye.